evening and welcome to LeDrew Live, our close-up look into the stories that you're talking about as well as the newsmakers. I'm Stephen LeDrew. Tonight, GM and Chrysler are saying they have to reduce the number of dealers across North America to support their slimmed-down operations. But they admit that cutting these franchises loose is causing a lot of pain on both sides of the border. Not only is it affecting the dealerships and their employees, but it's also having an impact on entire communities. Tonight, we will talk with one local GM dealer that has lost its business. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, a GM dealer that has become one of the casualties of the car makers' restructuring. So call us with your views on it. Back after this. Stay with us.
Appreciate this opportunity to discuss why and how Chrysler is realigning its dealer network. I can surely empathize with the dealers who were not brought forward into the new company, and I understand their disappointment more than you could know. This has been the most difficult business decision I've ever personally had to take, but the decisions had to be made. They were gut-wrenching, but absolutely necessary for Chrysler's survival. It's a well-documented opinion of the administration and many members of Congress that over the years, Chrysler has not moved fast enough to make the tough choices necessary to remain competitive. There are two main elements that we can control as an automaker to make those changes. It's our products and our dealer network.
Welcome back to LeDrew Live on CB24. I'm Stephen LeDrew. Tonight, a U.S. Senate committee is looking into GM and Chrysler's plans to slash dealerships on both sides of the border. More than 2,700 dealers are in line to lose their franchises. Devastating for their businesses and their employees, but for their local communities as well. One of those dealers that is losing its franchise is Slessor Pontiac in Grimsby, Ontario, and owner Robert Slessor joins us now. We also invited GM to join our discussion, but they weren't available tonight. So, Robert, thanks for joining.
My pleasure, Stephen.
You got a letter saying that as of some date, you're out of business. Is that it?
That is correct. We received a termination letter that was approximately 2 hours and 15 minutes late by email, and it indicated that our relationship of 54 years had been terminated.
You've been a dealer for 54 years in Grimsby. How many employees do you have?
We currently have 45 people in our employ.
Okay, now, why, we just heard the president of Chrysler before the U.S. Senate subcommittee, why are they getting rid of the dealerships? Because it seems to me that you pay GM for the cars. GM, you don't cost GM, do you?
No, we don't cost them any money. In fact, we're all independent business owners, and we pay our bills. And
so you buy the cars in effect from GM, you sell them, and then you pay GM money.
That is correct.
So
and we take a little bit for profit.
Of course, no, but is this all a bit of a smokescreen? You know, because they're getting rid of these dealerships, and maybe they want to do it in any event, but it's not costing them any money, which is what I fail to understand.
Well, in that respect, Steve, there was perhaps a need to reduce their dealer count, but the way they've gone about the reduction is the problem.
Okay, now another question I have about this is that GM is saying they're going to retool and get all these wonderful cars. Who's going to sell them? If they get rid of the dealerships, it's going to fail, isn't it?
I think their business plan is severely flawed from the standpoint our customers are relating to us. We have a large customer base, a very loyal customer base, and they're saying, where do I take my car for service?
So, and if people can't get service for their cars, they aren't going to be buying GM.
Well, as one fellow made it very clear to me, one customer, long-term customer, he said, I'll probably run this General Motors product out, Bob, and then I'll be back to see you to buy whatever
you're selling?
Whatever flag I'm flying. He says, I'll buy from Slessor. But as far as General Motors, he says, I may be finished.
Because that's the local loyalties, and it's to dealerships as opposed to the brand. Now, another thing, was there any in this notice that you got, was there any offer and inducement of money? Are they paying you a lump sum or offering to pay you a lump sum if you go quietly into the night, Bob?
Quietly into the night. I would call it 30 pieces of silver, Steve. And as a dealer that's... I've been a dealer since 1990, my father before me since 1955 in the same location, and it was disgusting. It was an attack on my integrity as far as I was concerned.
So the money that we saw the Prime Minister and the Premier give to GM this week, billions of dollars, so some of that money went to pay the dealerships to go away.
Absolutely. There were dealers for their personal and financial reasons that took advantage of the wind-down offer.
Yeah.
And I don't hold that against my dealer peers. However, for Bob Slessor personally, I just couldn't take it.
Okay, so have you told, obviously, if you haven't told them by now, they know now, your employees, and I mean, I'm sure that in a small community, it's a hard deal.
That was the most difficult day of my career, Steve.
Really?
If you can imagine coming in the next morning, in order to dispel any rumors so they didn't hear it third hand,
Yeah.
I gathered the 45...
Call them all together, yes.
Gathered them all together in our service department, away from the public's eye. I'd spent a few moments kind of setting down a few comments on paper, and I was even having difficulty with that. When I went to indicate that our franchise had been terminated after a 54-year relationship, there was total shock, total disbelief. I was having difficulty choking the words out, and my brother, who's our service advisor, he came up to stand beside me to offer some moral support while I brought this message out.
I can see it in your face now, just as you're telling the story. It was a very tough thing. It must have been awful for your family as well.
Very emotional, and it's just devastating for, I'll say, the Slessor family. I'm one of a number of Slessor dealerships. Our combined heritage with General Motors would be over 106 years.
Really? And so have you been hearing from other dealers who have been experiencing the same thing? I mean, there's a dealer network, I know.
The dealer network has been contacting each other, say, first of all, did you sign? You know, and
did you take the money?
Yeah, did you take the money? And that's being passed around. There is no list available from General Motors. They refuse to provide that information to us so that we can know what dealer peers to talk to and maybe offer a few words of comfort.
Yeah.
But we've not been provided with the list of the dealers that were terminated. We don't even know those ones for sure that have been maintained, or we call them retained dealers at this point.
So is anybody going to be fighting this? I mean, GM, I guess, has the upper hand, but it just seems to me that, you know, they say they want to sell more cars. It doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. We want to sell more cars, but we're going to do it with fewer salesmen.
Definitely a flawed business plan. It's not going to go forward in that respect. Yes, the dealers, I think, will challenge some of these decisions. As to how they proceed at this point, that's still very much up in the air.
Yes, let's take some calls on this. Evelyn in Alliston, Ontario, you're on CP24. What do you say about this issue, Evelyn?
Yes, well, I feel bad for the dealers, you know, I really do. But, you know, when you think about it, they used to sell like roughly 17 million or so, maybe more cars.
Right.
But now they're down, and they project in the future, like in the next few years or so, they'll only be selling maybe 10 million. So it makes sense. You can't, you know, there's too many dealerships for selling less cars.
Okay, Evelyn, thanks very much for your call. Good observation. What do you say about that?
Well, Evelyn, I would agree that the industry is going to downsize to a more static level. I'm not so sure your numbers are whether we're going to fall that low from 17 million down to 10 million. However, you must remember that there's a lot of people out there that have bought General Motors product, and they need to get service on that product. And I've got dealers telling me, where do I drive for that service? I'm going to drive 45 minutes from my local community to get a General Motors product service.
But the other thing I guess I'd say to Evelyn is repeating what you said before, is that the dealerships are not owned by GM, so they don't cost GM. In other words, if GM cancels these dealerships, which they're doing, I mean, there's no question about that, they aren't saving anything on the bottom line, are they? In fact, they're just losing sales.
This is losing the potential for sales. They haven't got the horsepower in place to sell vehicles anymore.
Is that a word you use a lot in your business, a horsepower?
Horsepower, we like to think that we're automotive related.
No question. You know, it's good that you can laugh at such a sorry circumstance. And it just seems to me that, is there anything else being offered to all the employees? Because you hear the CAW, they made a deal, and yes, there's some pain there, but they all keep their pensions. Was there any offer made from GM to your employees to soften it at all?
Absolutely none. In fact, it was specific to the wind-down agreement that they would not be responsible for any kind of severance or termination payments to our employees.
Will you be going to the Premier of Ontario and saying, oh, look, you helped out all the CAW workers. Now we have so many thousands of dealer employees who are out of work.
I think the Premier of Ontario's got a situation on his hands that he doesn't know what to do with. If you look at the number of employees, the sheer number that are involved, we've got approximately 250 dealers across Canada that have been terminated. The average dealer would be 45 employees, well over 11,000 people out of work.
Really? 11,000 in Ontario?
11,250 people across Canada of the terminated dealers.
Wow. We've got to take a break. So thanks for coming in. Thanks for explaining this. Good
My
to
pleasure,
see you.
Steve. Good to be here.
Okay.